Hey guys, great video today showing you how to tile this lovely hexagon floor. I'll show you my full process from start to finish. Laying hexagons can scare people, but they are a lot easier than they look. And with the right tools and preparation, anyone can get this same finish. So stay tuned for loads of tips and tricks along the way. Right, let's jump into it. Right, today guys, I'm going to show you how I tile this floor with these nice little hexagon tiles here. So nice little pattern design there. Similar to the wall, but different pattern. They'll be going that way as well. And it's a small little bathroom floor, this one. So I'll probably get my square off of the bath panel. I think the door's here. When you walk in and you're in the bathroom, you don't want it to be out of square with the bath. So I'll check off the bath panel and probably the door to see what square is like there. Back wall, I'm not that too fussed. It's got a toilet, a basin or vanity unit there. But yeah, I'll probably be looking to square them off of the bath and see how that is with the door. As long as it's not too pissed, then that should be all good. Right, so I'm just going to get a couple of tiles and lay them out off the bath panel and see how square it is. I'll use 2mm spacers for spacing. And then get my level. Okay. So hexagons aren't always perfect in size. It can be a bit size easy. You just have to take that into account when you're setting out and working with them. You just kind of have to go with it a bit with hexagons. So we're square this way. Now let's try and see if we can work this to the door and see how square the door is with the bath panel. You can do this with 2 levels. So keeping our tiles square, all our spaces are tight together. And then by putting the level against the points, we can now start to measure around the room and see how square things are. Let's have a look at this wall, 25 centimetres, 25.5, so that's only a 5mm difference there. And for the door, just make sure you can see that here. For the door, I would always mark off of the door stops. So that's generally the best place. So if we go through there, that's 25.5, say. If we can bring this through a little bit more, just roughly for now. Let's add another couple of tiles to this. Just otherwise it won't be that accurate. Okay. Now we should be able to extend our level a bit out of there. There we go. So we should be able to hit that door stop now. 26, 25.5. So at the moment that's about 5mm difference to the door. If the door is relatively square and the bath panel is relatively square, that's a good place to be. So what I'll do now is I might even look if I can come square off of the door and see just how much it is. So if we square up this level where the door stops, so just for instance, this won't be our starting line, but it's just somewhere to come square off of. So if we take our 26 off of that door stop, make sure you can see this here. So if we take our 26 off of that door stop, and that's about 26 off of that door stop. There we go. And now we use that. We know that's square with the door. And now we use that to come square off of and see how that works with the bath. So this won't be our starting line, but it's a line that we can use for square. So I know that if I put my tiles to that line, then they're square with the door. So now, let's move that down there. Then let's whack our tiles against the level. It's good, right. My tiles are all tight against the level now, which is square with the door. All the spaces are tight. So So now, if I just remove these two and get rid of that for a minute, we come back to the other level and then we'll work back from there. Put the level on that tile and then we'll start to see how our bath will be if we come square off the door. So that'll be a little bit off the tile, so I can come back a bit. And it looks like it'll be about a 5mm gap, so from nothing to 5mm on the bath. So yeah, it is about a 5mm difference from the bath panel to the door. So as that's covered, I think I'll go with squaring off the door because that's all lost. You won't see it, especially in the hexagons. 5mm isn't much over that. So I'm going to draw some proper lines down now, centre the room because they're hexagons, same as with the wall tiles here. It's all centred, it's a feature wall, so we put a centre line straight down it, so it's centred from this wall to this wall. Just look nice with even cuts either side. And then we'll see what full tile working back to this back wall here works like. So I'm just moving these tiles back slightly so I can get a full tile off that side of the bath panel over there to the left. Stick into my line that's square with the door. So just put that against that tile. Okay, and now we should be able to get this tile in, no problems. Spaces in, tie against the level, tie against the level. Perfect, and this will be our line going this way. If we're starting a full tile off the bath, we can draw this line down there. Now we don't need to worry about this line here anymore, that was just to square us up from the door. Now we can just mark this tile here, this tile here. We can take these up. So I'll just double check it works out okay to the back of the room. Back here, it's not going to matter too much because it's behind the door. This to me is the most important part of the room. You want to see full patterns from here as you walk in the door. So as long as it's a cut that I can get off, and it will be in hexagons, one bit will probably be small and the other bit will be big. So again, it's not really a concern. So 90% at the moment, this will be where the full tile starts. So we just continue that line through, get rid of that big level. There we go, that's that. And we can just put a cross through that because that line means nothing to us now. That was just to get the square off of the door. So next thing we want to do is centre this area here. So we'll call that 168. So that is 84, isn't it? 84 there. Double check it here. Mark 84 again. And then it's in between those 2 points. There we go, that's the centre. Then we'll centre a tile. And tiles are a weird size of 11.5 by the look of it, so that's fun. So let's go. Let's mark to 15 off. I'd tend to mark that because it's a bit of a weird measurement, but to be fair, we've got our pattern here which helps us. That's probably more likely dead in the centre, which looks like it is. I'll show you that on there, so our pattern there. So now we've got a centre mark. We'd put that on our centre of the floor line. We've got our line across there. Now we can just So we'll do this roughly for now, see how this works out either side. I'll just guesstimate it. Okay, that's not too bad, so I'll just show you on this one here. So that'll be my cut there, because it's centred, it'll be the same cut over there. There's nothing here that I can see that's going to be an issue with. The door, it will have to go a bit past the door, there's a carpet there, so it'll probably finish in between the door. That's fine, because that will only increase that tile. So we're going to have a 4.5 off the back effectively, come in this way. And all I need to do now is just check the back wall, but like I say, I'm not too fussed about that. It is what it is, so I'll quickly check it and I should be ready to go with this. And to measure it to the back of the room here, I can just put my tape from a couple of tiles like this, and then I can, obviously I've got a 2mm spacer to gauge for there, but roughly there. Sure you can see that on the camera. And that's our line there, so we put a tile there. And there we go. It's going to have a small cut here and a big cut there. This has got tiled skirting, so by the time it's then done, it probably actually work out full tile. So I'm absolutely fine with that. So that is all now good to go. All I've got to do is spread that patch there, put my first tile on my centre mark between the two walls here. I've got my line to work to there, which has now squared us up with the door. Bath panel, like I say, will be about 5mm out, but nothing that's going to be that visible. And before I start, I'm going to quickly whip over with a primer, just prime the floor. That will go off relatively quickly. It's on self-levelling. Give it about 20 minutes, half an hour. We can knock up some adhesive and we're good to tile. I'm just going to apply it using a sponge. Oh, and that's just diluted 1:1. Just read the instructions on the primer as usual with whatever primer you go for. I'll just let that dry now and then we're good to go. And for adhesive for this one, I'll be using the Flex one here. I'll probably knock up about half a bag. I don't want to go too big with it, so I'll measure out half a bag's worth of water, put it in the bucket, use my mixer, and it's just important when using the hexagons that your floor is flat, at least flat anyway. I mean, in my last video I leveled this floor up. I'll leave a link in the description to that, but because it's a hexagon and it has 6 sides, if your floor isn't flat you'll get into a nightmare with bits sticking up all over the place. So just at the minimum, just make sure your surface is flat when laying hexagons. And because these have got a bit of a ridge on the back, I'll be back edging these, and I'll use a 10mm trowel for the floor, 10mm notch trowel, spreading that, and then I'll use the flat side to back edge them just to make sure we get a good bond and connection on this floor. Okay, so the primer has all dried now, so I'm going to spread my first row just up to my line here. I've got my centre line where I only took my first tile, so I'm just going to spread all that. I'll just get some adhesive on the floor, like so. I'll spread it around a bit, and then I'll try and keep all the ribs in the same direction, as that helps compact the adhesive for a better bond. Making sure I use the full notches of the trowel as I go, holding it at a 45-degree angle. And I'm just spreading about 2mm back from my line. Okay, now we've got some down, then I can start straightening it up. There we go, our ribs are reasonably straight there, so that's good. We're going to take our first tile, which has our centre mark on it. Just going to clean the wax off the back of the tile. Get some adhesive. Use the flat side of your trowel. And just cover the back back like so. Then just line up your hexagon centre mark with your centre line on the floor, work into the line, and then just work back from there. Just give the tile a push and a wiggle as you put it down to get a good connection and collapse the ribs. Then once you've got a few down, you can just get your level and put it on your level line, so then you have something clear to work to. And I'll get a couple down and then I'll start adding some spacers to get them all nice. So the wax can be a bit annoying to take off, but just give it a little rub and scrape and it'll fall off. Right, so I'm just going to check now that we're all good on our line here. Now I'm going to start adding some spacers. Now I've put a few down. And we can just start getting them in place. So we want to make sure our centre one here is on its mark. We're using our level here for our line, so now we can just get some spacers in these joints and start moving them tight. It can be a bit tedious with hexagons, obviously, because there's so many sides. You can use one in some, just whatever works for you really. Like I said, it will be a little bit sizey, so you just have to bear that in mind and play with them a little bit. But if they're there and thereabouts, there's so many joints that once it's grouted, you will never see any discrepancies. That's it. And I'm just going to continue through that, adding spacers in, get that all filled in there, and I'll come back to you when I'm doing the cuts and just show you how I cut them. And I think you've got quite a good knowledge of how to do that. Cool, and now we're just left with our cuts here now. That was so easy to lay because I self-levelled the floor. I literally just had to back butter them and put them down. That was a very easy patch to do there. So I'm going to show you now how to do these cuts. Obviously they're all going to be halves at the back, and hopefully these sides are all the same size so we can just cut a batch of them off. So I'll show you marking them now, cutting them, and then we're all good. So for these side cuts, I'll just take my tape measure and I'll allow a bit of play, measure from the wall to the point of the tile. So about 7.5 centimetres there would give me a couple of mil play, and this should in theory be the same because we should be quite square with the door now. So we've got 7.5 centimetres marked on our tape. And then we can take the tile, so we know the tile's going in this way, and so from the point, which is where we mark our 7.5 centimetres, there we go. And it's good to have some kind of set square here. It's just easier for when you put it into the cutter to mark. And then we can just draw a line up there. And then we know this is the part that we want, that will go in there. We can set a gauge in our cutter and hopefully be able to cut these all the same. So let's just show you the back one, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's half a tile because we started a fall off, so we're just going to go through from the point to the point on the cutter. That's the part we want, point to point, snap it, and we should be able to get 2 out of 1 for all these back cuts through here. Right, let's go and show you cutting them. So like I say, having a good cutter does help with cutting these. You could always angle grind them if not, but yeah, having a decent cutter will make your life a lot easier. So here on the Sigma cutter, I can just put my tile in. I can use the gauge that comes with it, or what I like to do is mark on the cutter itself. So I've marked on the bar there, and then it's just a simple case of running through, breaking it off, and that's our piece. And then as we marked on the cutter, we can put this tile on that mark there, cut it off, and now we have 2. And then just to show you how to cut the half, so on this one we were going point to point, weren't we? So we could just line it up with the point of the cutter there, the point of the back of the cutter there, and hopefully we should get
2 out of 1 if we make a good cut here. Through the point. And there we go, we've got 2 halves to the back. So I'm just going to continue to run all of them off now, and we can fill all that in. So we'll just check them first, but we know they should be all good. Perfect. Spread the backs up, same as before. Okay. And then we'll just place her in, give her a wiggle, and we can add some spaces to the joints, and that's that. So now I can just go around and fill all these cuts in. There we go, there's that one in as well. And you'll either probably have skirting or tiles on your wall. This has got a tiled skirting, so just always allow, it's good for expansion to have a bit of a gap as well. So just always when you mark, give yourself a little play, because it should all be covered with whatever goes on top anyway. So don't cut yourself too tight to the wall, especially if the wall's a bit wonky and it's on the rake. You don't want to be pinching bits out or grinding bits out. So yeah, always good to allow a bit of play there. And then, like I say, now I can just fill all of these bits in with just how I showed you how to cut them. Perfect, and that's the same mark on the left side, 7.5 that it was on the right side, so I can use the same gauge on the cutter to cut that. And for the corner cuts, they look confusing, but really once you've got your length cut off, you know the backs are half, so you would just cut your length off first and just cut straight through the point to make this a half tile. Same with the right hand side, and that there is your piece that go in the 2 corners. There we go, so I've added my side cuts, the back cuts there like I just said, and we're exactly what we thought on set out. We're tight against the bath panel there, and we're running out about 5mm there, which means we're square with the door through here. So now you can just continue on. If you come to a point where you're stopping, or this adhesive here where it's been left to start to turn, so if it doesn't feel like it's got enough in it, then always scrape it off. If it starts to turn, then it won't be good for adhering. So this here for me is still pretty good, but so every situation is different depending on how long you take. So scrape it out and reapply if it has started to turn. And now we're all set here. I can just continue backwards across the rest of the floor and out the door here. Then for your next rows coming off of here, you can just use your tape, put it against the tile to get a mark. So say if I wanted to mark 2 rows here, put a mark on my tape, and that's allowing for a spacer pushing against the back end of the rear tile there. Put a mark on your floor like that, put it on the other tile, and then just draw a level line across them 2 marks, and then that's another place to spread to and to work to there. So you just draw your line like so, and now you have a spread line and a line to work to. And then as you come back, when you get to the end of the row, just always use your level just to make sure everything's straight and good once you start adding the spaces, and you should be all good there. Alright, so this is about as far this way as I'm going to go, as I've got the door behind me here. So next thing is to just work back out of the room on this final couple of rows and straight out the door.
Okay, that's a wrap for this one. I can't put these door cuts in just yet as this threshold may get altered, but as you can see with the right equipment, laying the hexagons is pretty easy actually. And what a finish they give to this bathroom floor. I hope you learned some good tips and tricks there. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.